Uh, so we are going to go on to our next activity. This is called the silent debate. In this activity, I have already given some quotes to the groups. I'll come around and give the quotes. Once I've given the quotes, you can put the quotes in the chart paper. Then, as a group, you can give your comment. If you agree, you can just write, I agree. If you don't agree, you can write, I think, and then you can state what you think. And if you agree, but you want to add something more, then you can write, this reminds me of, and you add on to the thought. Leave enough space because the other groups will come and write comments there as well. So each group will get a quote. I have already given the quotes to some groups. I'm coming around and giving the quotes. And once as a group you have given your comments, you will go on to the other group, you will look at the comment, and you can look at the quote and you will give your comments. We'll try to do it as silently as possible. There is no discussion. You just write the comment and you move on to the next table.
He has evidence in the formalizing all the accounts business of the Saturday. They know, right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Robert. Yes, sir. Right. Doctor. Sir, yes, sir. They came on set to make their they wanted to take out this approach. Because we are on the finalization. Right. Yes, sir. He's from Rajasthan. Keep on. He's responding. He's responding. Okay. But it seems that he's having some problem. Oh, he's also having some problem. Sir, I sir, yes, telecom market. Bangalore. Bangalore is trying to get some Bangalore is public. Because Bangalore, we are not trying. The person he tried in the last year of the IIT, he that's what I'm telling you. They want good results. IIT was, as far as my understanding of IIT, the people who are dream of IIT has actually entering into the industry. Yeah. Now, those people who are actually working for education have not getting that kind of memories. What are the available results will be have to want. But Bangalore people are actually competing with the abroad. They are comparing and identify their level is actually quality assurance to the market. Otherwise, they don't use the market. But Chennai people are actually the marketing Indian market. So they somehow survive by going here and doing there. So this TV channel recently completely out of my acquaintances. Bharati Vidyananda has lost the logistics legal pursuit. Sir, they have committed so many things. That's not now that down here they are not there. And they have also cheated. Taken some money and then oh, yeah, they did legal pursuit. So after listening all this, not this way, I'm only paying a salary. Yeah. Before and I don't know what to do. Just without understanding, I don't know what is the thing. I told them, whatever the salary you want, maybe he's taking cut from the salary. Okay, see, of course, yes, salary, right? That's okay. But if you want to get to know the things, the challenge is they are not working on themselves. They should work on themselves. This is the expectation we have. You have to, they had a very good, they have first they have been teaching for 5 years, I know that. Children really, but you know, because we are taking, I think we are taking about more than 15 schools. Meanwhile, so, more than that, when you were actually that very good. Okay. So there is something called first step, a company or the banking. They have started an office. They have also started a multi-bank. Actually, you saw the racket private loan. Yes, multi-pool. He's from the startup only. I studied. I Chennai, out of all the ideas in terms of startup, they but electronic idea is based on IT models. Right. They have been leading. So that's what after listening to all these things and also making farmers Bombay and the out of that. Gujarati are the best. Such method what I need, right? Looking at this case study, just the 12th pass person has actually started teaching IIM. This case study is doing an IIM stuff. Yeah, I think it's not that much. Even such a brilliant person who was
So some of the groups are done with the comments, so we can proceed with the activity. So I think this group can come to this group. You can go through the court, you can give your comments, and you can go to the other group as well as the other groups are getting ready. No, no, you leave your chart. This is your chart. So you come back and you see what everyone has done. Yes. You can take a sketch pen. Okay. Oh, oh, you can keep the chart on the table itself. Come to the table and comment. And you can go around the other tables. Ah. No, this is a quote. So this is an opinion. Yes, yes. Oh, okay. Yes. Yes. When? This will be when. When all the four components units is correct. You're welcome.
All the activities are one. Yes, it's mandatory. Ah, it's a open-ended
So,
question.
so sir, you can put in your comments. Doctor can put in.
Yeah, it's open-ended question. You can have so many answers. There is
And some members can go to the tables there as well, and you can give the comments. Sorry, sorry.
I like your smile, ma'am.
Oh, thank you. For the young learners,
Young learners,
absolutely,
yes, ma'am.
absolutely young learners.
That's a great challenge.
So thank you all for being so involved. We can take 2, 3 more minutes and then we can wrap this up and then you can come back to your group and see the comments you have gotten. I think a last minute, 1 minute more, and then we can just come back to our places. So if we can all settle down, and then we can have a look at the comments that's given on your quotes. So Thank you all for the really wonderful participation and for all your comments. What we just did is something called a silent debate. It can be used for language learning a lot because one of the queries that I have seen here is how we can instill critical thinking skills, but also how we can make them have peer feedback without being critical. They can just go around, give their comments, think about the topic, give their opinion just in the comment format, and then the other group can just come back and evaluate the comments given to them as well. So this can be a very good way to instill critical thinking skills as well as have movement in the classroom, because another query that I can see, what activities can be done in the absence of interactive board. These are some of the activities that can be inculcated for higher order language skills. Now, one thing that I want to suggest, when we did the Cambridge Learner attribute previously in the previous slide, Cambridge does not talk about those attributes have to be developed separately. They talk about that even at the primary level, higher order thinking skills are to be inculcated as well. So we have sometimes this concept that until they are reaching seventh, eighth grade, we are not going to give them critical thinking questions, critical thinking skills. Only grade second and third are to be understanding and remembering. That is not the case. The teacher and the learner resources is based around holistic development of the learners in terms of language. So they are inculcating all these skills, even the critical thinking skills, right from the first grade itself. So these are some of the strategies that can be used. Having said that, let me read out some of the quotes that we had. The first quote is, active learning is the same as inquiry based learning, and students have to be active in active learning. We have gotten some wonderful comments. What we can do, we can put up these charts somewhere, and then you can have a gallery walk as well where you can see the comments of each other as well. So that can be a good way. But this is one misconception about active learning that's there, that active learning, the students have to be physically active in classroom. They have to be active in their metacognition, in thinking. The teacher can do the work in a passive way as well, but not necessarily taking a passive role, because a lot of planning goes on with active learning as well. The next quote that was given was, active learning means a complete change of teaching style and classroom layout. Again, there are some comments that I can think. The one comment that I can read out, it will not change teaching style, it only changes the techniques. The other quote is, the confirmation bias is when people retain the information they already know and ignore the information that contradicts anything that they know. Active learning means taking away the teacher's influence. Language learning is most effective when all the four components like reading, writing, speaking, and learning is done for all the units. This is also a misconception that sometimes we can have, because all the activities are given in the learner's book. The teachers can sometimes feel the overwhelming urge for the need to cover all the components. The idea is that Cambridge is giving a lot of freedom to the teachers to adapt the curriculum according to the classroom needs and practices. So if you think that for some unit they don't require the speaking activity, you can absolutely adapt it according to the classroom need. So you don't have to follow that all the components in every unit. So that takes away from some unit when you can actually concentrate more on the speaking activity or more on the listening activity. So that is also a misconception sometimes we have. Learning should be relevant and within a meaningful context. We also have some wonderful comments regarding that. It is important to make reading fun, and that will bring us to the next segment actually when we look at the poem. Uh, while teaching English, it is important to cover all the unit and activities in the learner book. Cambridge insists that the learner books are only used as guidebooks. You don't have to use the learner book for every unit. So the teacher can adapt the learner book, change the activities, adapt the activities according to the needs of the students. So that flexibility is there with the learner books. The teacher resource book in Cambridge is merely a guide for global English components. We also have some comments on that. And which brings us to the next segment, that we have to make reading really fun. If you can see poem A, this is a poem that is used in the learner book. And you can see I'm superlatively strong. I like to carry elephants. I do it all day long. I pick up half a dozen and hoist them in the air. It's really somewhat simple, for I have strength to spare. My muscles are enormous. They bulge from top to toe. And when I carry elephants, they ripple to and fro. But I'm not the strongest in the Simpson family, for when I carry elephants, my grandma carries me. Now you can see that the ending is a punchy line, and it is contextualizing the poem for the learners. The poem has a really punchy ending. It is making reading fun for the learner. So this is the kind of resource that you have in Cambridge, which makes it really relevant for the learners itself. And which brings us back to, of course, the teacher resource, the learner book, and the workbook, like we were discussing. The teacher resource is essential for teaching success. The learner book is for activities and guidance. The workbook, we call it a book for the learners. Informally, we also call it the book for the parents, because the parents get to see the progress sometimes that is happening. The digital classroom is optional. There is separate videos and extra resources that is embedded in the digital classroom, and the language workbooks are there in science. One of the things that I want to point out is, in Cambridge Global English, grammar is not taught in the traditional way. Grammar, if you have explored the learner book, is embedded and is supporting the language learning process. It's not taught separately. It's not a traditional grammar centric approach. It's focusing on communication. As the learners are going along, they are learning to use grammar in an effective way. So it's not the traditional grammar centric approach. The traditional approach has the reading comprehension, creative writing, grammar, reading literature, spelling test. In the integrated approach, you have reading literature, guided reading up to grade 4. And then you have additional reading extension or support lesson as required. So it's integrating a lot of these approaches together. It's not keeping it separate. So that is really, really important. We look how grammar is embedded in the course itself. The most important component is the teacher resource. We will learn to explore the teacher resource effectively. There were some queries about some units in the teacher resource, how to use it effectively. All the lesson planning and guidance is given in the teacher resource itself. Now, I have also had concerns where some people said that, but if we all use the teacher resource, wouldn't our activities and the classroom lessons look the same? No, that's not the case. The teacher resource, if you see, is done in such a way, it's a guide, it's a framework. It will not make the classroom or the activities look the same. That is why we are providing the learner book for the activities and the suggestions that's there. And differentiated activities are already given in the teacher resource. We'll do a small scavenger hunt activity. Uh, So the answers are there in the handout, and the questions are also there. So we would ask you, so this would effectively help you to explore the teacher resource and everything that is there. And it can be really empowering for the teachers itself. So the answers to most of the questions are in the relevant section. Some questions ask you to consider the content and apply it in your school context. So some questions will ask you to uh, apply the content. So it's not directly given in the teacher resource.
definitely we come to know how
Yes, 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 yes.
this is only for unit 7. From there, the
So, one pertinent query that came up that I would like to address, finishing on time. And if some activities cannot be completed on time, how do we go about doing that? So, this is where we'll have, and we'll do a little bit of metacognition, reflection in action, and reflection on action. We will talk about it. I'll just give a very personal example. We just adapted the scavenger hunt activity today as well. because there was a paucity of time and we know that we can't complete the full activity, so we took sections which we thought were essential to understand the teacher resource. So this is also something that can be applied in the classroom space as well. If you think that there is an activity that might take longer, you can always scaffold it, you can always break it down to suit the need of the learners and the time that you have in hand. So we constantly change and adapt according to the situation as well. So that can be flexible and adaptable as well. Yes. So how many lessons will you come for? This is completely up to you as teachers. We have given you this framework. This is based on the 40-minute session that we have given. Okay? So this is according to you. So if it's 2 hours, 40-minute session, then approximately it will take like 4.5 sessions, keeping the classroom session in mind. As teachers, you think that we have already done unit 2 a lot in great detail and students don't need to spend a lot of time on unit 2. You can take the minimum amount of hours for this and not the maximum. So you can always change it according to your needs. So you can write that you can change it, how many lessons we plan for it, depends on we introduce the content and change it according to your needs. How many lessons? Yes, yes. So, if you see, we have one session, Shira means 40-minute session. That means first will be around four classes. Now, as teachers, if you think that you have done a lot of this, I don't need 3 hours for this, right? So, you will take the minimum time to this. So you can write it will depend on the content and what you require. You can always change. If you feel that I don't need more classes, but if you feel that I need the maximum we have given, that I think this is the framework that we have. I have one more doubt. Yes, yes. If I'm taking this chapter, FR solution, yes. Here you given like some activities. Yes, yes. As I'm a teacher, I'm going to introduce few more activities for this one. Yes, yes. So either we need to complete within 3 hours or we can extend like 1 hour or a half again. Yes, that will again depend on you. We have suggested spend more than 3 hours for this. But for one particular and it will happen every time. You will just adjust your time according to your needs. That is why we said that the learner is also not for all the classes, right? Because as teachers, how can we make that a you might find some common element that you might want to include the class without the learner. No, ma'am, why you are conducting assessment? Just I'm asking you the question. You are going to give us a question. We are supposed to train the students according to the textbook, not by our own content. So the learner will be thoroughly teach to the students. Yes, the learner is also a guide. It's not necessarily that teachers are taking it down. Because that is the information that we have. That sometimes we learn only that others so that is also there. So if you feel that oh my God is like at this or on this, so you can definitely adapt. But this is actually exactly how in many of the chapters, the grammar of the like I'm telling as we are studying this level, it's not with the articles now if it's not included, we are going to reduce it. So you will take at least 3 more periods to complete. Once we follow say for example, each past simple as a separate grammar activity always. You can ask them to write in 2-3 lines. I show you it's there in their books as well, right? And how that is like the grammar rich content as well. So, ma'am, any specific queries you have, you also set it aside. I'll try to answer everything for you at the end of the session as well. Okay, but keeping the learner book in mind. Yes.
Can you define the meaning of the planaries? What is the planaries?
Memory is basically at the end of the
Yeah, yeah. Ideas.
yes.
Yeah.
In the lesson plan,
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
it's done in different class, right? So this is the consolidation of the ideas. So this is the critical thinking skills that you are. Now, what is happening is with each of the lesson plan, you need to formulate your own objectives, right? And the teacher is also you can adapt this, you can change this. But a suggestion,
Adapt according to the situation of the
situation of the class according to the unit from each unit, the ideas, so lesson planning, verbal objectives, lesson planning.
you need to say that lesson plan for this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
This will help us to do
Yes,
the
yes.
writing. But according to our
It's done
situation,
exactly in the
according to our situation, we have to
adapt.
adapt.
Madam, I have one query.
Yes, yes,
Now, this
yes,
is design and architecture.
yes,
If I see here,
yes,
uh, if, keeping in mind that 9 chapters are there,
yes,
so I'm just taking 4 weeks, means for
yes,
1 month.
yes.
Okay. Now it asks for how many lesson plans will you
Um,
plan for? Now here it is 9 months.
no,
Okay.
no.
Then
This is the approximate number of learning hours that they are expecting you to spend. So
okay.
this will be based on the 40-minute session. So this is the timing. So if it's 2 hours, then keeping the 40-minute session in mind, you're planning for 3 lessons. So they have given you a guide, but this is no way binding.
Okay.
So if the teacher feels that no, in the previous unit I've done enough, I need the minimum. I don't need the maximum.
Okay,
But
so
this,
for example, I can just take this three, skip 4 and 5, and
yes,
just
yes,
randomly I'm
yes,
saying.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. So it's been done for you.
Okay.
The timing has also been done. So when we break for lunch,
130 would be right.
we can take another 2, 3 minutes or 4 minutes to wrap it up. Done? So do you have a teacher resource with you? Let's the book. We have one question. Yes, please go ahead. Ma'am, like in question number 2, how many lessons? I'll can I have this teacher resource? Yes. So, as you can see, this is something that they are giving you a guideline, the approximate learning hours. So, when this approximate learning hours is happening, it's 40-minute session. So, it will depend on your content that you are doing. So, if it's given 2.5 to 3, 2.5 hours with 40-minute session approximately will come to around 3 to 3.5 lessons. But if you feel that in the previous unit you have covered a lot, so you want to keep it to the minimum level, or if you even want to skip a unit, that's also fine. Then you concentrate on unit 1 and unit 3 more, you're delving more into it, so that is also fine. But then what they are doing is so that you don't the time that you can keep in mind. You can change, adapt it according to the lessons that you have learned. But this is just given everything for you. I'm sure you also have to do lesson planning. Like, if you see the teacher resource, learning intention, success criteria is given. This is the lesson plan usually you have. Then you have plenary ideas given to you. You don't have to come up with doing plenary ideas itself. Then you also have homework ideas that's given to you, the main teaching ideas that's given, the structure ideas. For each unit, everything is scaffolded and done. The biggest mistake I feel, because no other curriculum
curriculum gives a feature requirement. The biggest mistake I feel is not utilizing the feature because it makes planning for the lesson so yes, yes, it's taking away the bulk of the work so you can really plan for the higher order classes. You can really structure it, adapt it according to the needs of your learners. So this is what I feel that is like we put in the scavenger hunt activity to explore the teacher resource more. Yes, 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 that's absolutely. Yes. Any of it. Yes. Yes. So your kind of yes, when the digital part of the book, right? Now, even if you don't have the audio, and if some reads the structure around the audio, skip that. Come back to it once you have the audio. Once it covers, like after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you come back to the session only on audio.
Actually, we have an exercise that we need after listening the audio. We need to complete the exercise.
That is the biggest skill. Based around. And then once you guys plan, maybe after 2 weeks, you start first the audio session. Then you can take that based on
Then
that.
we can have a separate session.
Yes, 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 absolutely. Ma'am, can I just follow the teacher resource
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, am I right in understanding? For example, we have so many worksheets.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
For example, one chapter. If I think that this is very basic format, I can skip that and go to the second and third, right?
Yes, the teacher resource. Oh, thank you. So, ma'am, the entire idea of the
Okay.
teacher resources, as you can see,
Mm.
um, in many ways, is that when they are talking about main teaching ideas, or when they are talking about even in any, so irrespective of subject, ma'am, you can see the structure is the same. This is the teacher resource for math. This is the teacher resource for English. Now, they are expecting, they are not expecting more. But you feel that in this way, my learners will benefit by doing it. You will practice your creativity and stuff. We have given you all kinds of ideas, but you are choosing in this unit for my learners the culinary ideas. Because the learners in every class is also different. So based on their level, you are adapting the ideas on that.
Then we use the same idea apart from this.
Any,
Yeah.
it's just giving you the guidance.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you want to change it,
On the side, that is what is called appreciated. Okay. The third can be given.
So, if everyone is done with the scavenger hunt, what I'll do is you can place your answers on the table. As we'll go for break, I'll just go through the responses as well. It's very good. Thank you for a lot of the queries and clarifications that came up as we were doing the activities. I'm addressing some of the key clarifications that came up with the teacher resource. again, it brings us back to the same thing, that do we need to do all the activities? Can we adapt and can we be flexible in terms of instituting the activities? Absolutely, yes. Because the learners in each class will be different. The teacher would know the level of the learners. There can be something given in the book, like ma'am was sharing, that sometimes for the young learners it can be too difficult. Now we don't have to, because the teacher knows that my learners might not be able to do this activity right away. So they might need to introduce two initiation activities which they think best might work for the learners before the learners can go to that level. So it's not tying your hands that no, we have to do this activity only first, and then I don't have the flexibility to introduce any other activity. I have had learners, I'll just share a very personal experience, and this is a trend that we have. So in East, we get a lot of students from Thailand coming to study in Kolkata and also in Darjeeling schools, because in Thailand they feel that English is not that great. So they are coming from Thailand to study, and because of the distance, it's easy flight and they prefer. So a lot of the Thai learners who are coming, they have studied in Thai schools, predominantly just studied English as one language. All the other subjects were studied in Thai. They are coming in grade 6 and 7th, and then they are taking the Cambridge curriculum. The teachers are mostly flummoxed that how do we do this? Because they have, like at grade 6, 7, they are having to start with ABCD, literally, with them. And most of the time they are sitting disinterested in the class, because of course if they are not understanding anything in the other subjects as well, it's very difficult to engage. So we have to form a different cohort. There have to be different, even in the same class sometimes different strategies have to be used. So maybe the entire class is doing something from the book, they are being shown something in translation, which is an absolute no no, but that is the need of the hour. So the teacher decided that we have to adapt that, at least in the initial phase. So there, just recently, the teacher shared, there was this documentary, the Thai Cave Rescue, in Thai and in English on Netflix. So they were shown that from there. They are seeing the Thai language and the English subtitles. They are picking up the words from there. So this was just something that the teacher innovated and said, I have to do this. I know I cannot teach language in translation. It's an absolute no, it shouldn't happen. But it was the need of the hour, because they were completely flummoxed that how can in grade 7th and 8th, when the learners are, when half of the learners are in that advanced stage, how do we say, do we deny them admission? No, we can't do that. So how that differentiated learning can come in the classroom, and the flexibility in terms of resources, we don't have time. Otherwise we have a wonderful session on just on differentiation. How can we introduce differentiation in the classroom for the learners? Cambridge has some wonderful ideas where differentiation can be introduced in the same classroom for the learners. So this was just an example that as language teachers, sometimes you're facing with bilingual learners, there's bound to be a lot of problems. And differentiation has to come in when we are dealing with specifically with bilingual learners, right? So we can go on to the next part. Now, we concentrated a lot on the teacher resource, right? Now we are coming to the learner's book and the workbook as well. We'll come to the workbook, but now we are concentrating on the learner's book. One of the things that I want to emphasize, the learner book is kept really simple. Uh, the learners are not inundated with a lot of information, so that the activities in the learner book, if you take the same activity in the learner book and the same activity in the teacher resource, the teacher resource has all the notes, especially at the primary level. The learner books are kept really simple, it's kept pictorial. So the learners can see, can identify with the use of pictures. All the notes are kept in the teacher resource book. So, like I said, even when we started with Cambridge, we made the same mistake. We would use the teacher resource and the learner book separately. Sometimes we would use the teacher resource, we would skip through it, we would just like glance through it, we would not like use it properly. the amount of scaffolding done with the teacher resource and the learner book kept side by side. The main purpose to do this activity was to show all the help that you can get in the teacher resource itself. So the explanation of all the activities is given in the teacher resource. That does not mean it's binding the teachers that all the steps are given, you have to follow all these steps. It's a guide, it's a framework that's given. The teachers can adapt, be flexible with the framework. The learner book is always kept very simple. The activities are kept simple. The learners are using very simple language. In fact, if anyone opens the learner book, you can see the getting started activity is in red. It's color coded as well. The getting started activity is usually in red. So if you go back to the teacher resource, that is your starter ideas. Starter ideas, getting started activity. The blue color in the learner book is your learning intentions. Just above the getting started activity, you have the learning intentions. Can anyone tell me success criteria and what does success criteria look like in the learner book? So you have the learning intention as blue. In the teacher resource, the learning intention. We are going to is the learning intention. We are going to is in the learner book. In the teacher resource, it's the learning intention. The getting started activity is in red. And in the teacher resource, it's given as starter ideas. What is the success criteria? The success criteria is given in the teacher resource. Can anyone come up with which activity in the learner book can be the success criteria? You all have teacher resource. You don't have a learner. Okay. Anyone has an extra learner book on the table? Extra learner book on the table? Thank you. So, can someone have the teacher resource open? And if you can just stand up and keep the teacher resource open, if we can have one volunteer. Okay, so we can have it. So, ma'am, if you see, if you can just hold it up, the book. So, in the teacher resource, what is there as learning intention? In the learner book, it's we are going to. In the learner book, it's we are going to. It's color coded as well. So, the blue is we are going to, that is the learning intention in the teacher resource, right? Then we are having the getting started activity. The getting started activity is seen in red in the learner book. In the teacher book, it's given as starter ideas. In the teacher book, it's given as starter ideas. There is something called the success criteria in the teacher book. The checklist can be the success criteria from the teacher book. In the learner book, when there is a checklist, that is the success criteria in the learner book. The checklist can be the success criteria in the learner book. The learner book checklist and the success criteria in the teacher book can be the similar. Yes.
In secondary, there is no red color.
There is no?
Red color. Red color.
No, it's not there for all the units. It will be there for some.
For any particular unit.
Yes, yes. It will be there
For
for
the
some.
only you are following.
Yes, but that's not for all the lessons. But
Can you
say,
pick up
yes,
only where the
yes.
red is?
So this is the learning intention will always be there, right? And the start, the blue color is there, and this no in the teacher resource the starter ideas will be there. They are asking you to adapt it to the classroom pattern as you are going through. And as the path is happening, you will always see that they would have intermittent checklists. The checklist would be the success factor.
Where is the checklist?
The checklist would be many of the units. Somebody checklist that can be part of the success criteria.
Getting started. Getting started.
Getting started is the starter idea. We are going to is the learning intention, and the success criteria is the checklist. That will be
It's
very
given summary of the checklist. That is the
Somewhere.
okay.
Okay.
slightly different for each grade, but the structuring will be the same.
Okay.
Okay, we got it, ma'am. Thank you.
But does it get
Yes, yes. So that is given in the teacher. Yes, for the teacher results, that's given for all the levels because that they are asking that because that is just like how you initiate, like the activity ABC that they are asking the teachers to initiate on that. But the learning intention and the success criteria. Yes, yes, yes. Basically. Yes, yes, yes. Right. So the learning intention is we are going to. The success criteria is the checklist, and the getting started and the starter ideas are related. Basic ones. Yes. So is this part clear for everyone? Learning intentions we are going to, getting started starter idea, and success criteria learning outcomes is the checklist that's given in the learner book. The checklist is has different words, like, but that's given in scaffolding in different grades in different ways. Look what I can do, check your progress, summary checklist, but that would be the success criteria that the learners are mapping out constantly. Now we are looking at which is something that we have already discussed. Identify each section or box or activity in the learner's book, and then just discuss among the group which can correlate to the teacher resource. We have discussed the three main things, that is the learning intention, the success criteria, and getting started. You can take another 5 minutes to search in the teacher resource and learner book if you can find any correlation between the teacher resource and the learner book in terms of activities suggested. So I'll come around the tables to clear any misconceptions as well. Yes. You don't have a learner's book? Okay, I'll just get it. Ma'am, you can also use the extracts as well. Uh, Extracts. Yes.
So this is something that we do. So the learning intention we are trying to. Then whenever you have anything of starter ideas, and then you can see getting started. Then you have a success criteria. Many of the times they have some ideas. The whole thing is one of the learning practice. Now, if you can see any of this activity, any of this activity very suggested that audience to only talk about the teacher resource. They already talked about the main ones, but more than one you can come up with. Say for example, over here, we have some main teaching ideas talked, right? You can see that in the learning we have also given this. So there is a correlation to teacher resource. So if you can find any such correlation between language and teacher resource,
So, yes, you don't have the learner's book, it's fine.
Intentions we are going to, right? Then there is this getting started activity is the starter ideas that's there. The success criteria is not here. It can be the project challenge as well. And because it's not given fully, but there is a checklist that happens. Now, suppose in the teacher resource, they are talking about language learning, or they are talking about that talk with your class. And in the learner books, you can see talk about it. So if we can find any correlation with the teacher resource and the learner book, and if we can make a note of it. Yes, ma'am. Yes. 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 So understand the range of instruction, express range, right? So it's like talk about feelings, that legs, so the starter idea is basically one thing initiate for getting started. Before getting started, you basically need to motivate. Yes, 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 yes. Right. And over here, see, there is talk. And in the teacher resource, they have also used like talk, I think, in one part that they have used that you can talk or quiz. And in the learner book, there are quizzes given as well. So if you can find any correlation between the teacher resource and the learner book activity, you just write down. Okay, one. So did you find any correlation between the learner book and the teacher resource? Oh, it's here as well in the extracts. So, say for example, stream. Yes. You have this. See the learning intentions. We are going. Then starter ideas, getting started. Right now over here in the teacher resource, they have talked about like talk about it or homework ideas is when start talking 15 to 20 minutes. They have given suggestion. In the learner book, they have given talk about it. So if you can find some correlation apart from the ones which we have already discussed in the teacher resource and in the learner book, and you can write down one. You understand why this is very important? Because most of the time we are just overlooking the teachers. Right? So if you just look at the learner book, you would be like, what are you talking about? Right? Most of the time we skip this activity and we go over it. But if you look at the teacher resource, it's all explained clearly. They have also given you the time you have to spend on this activity. Now, it's not necessary that you do this for every single unit, but just avoiding these activities, what we tend to do, we introduce the unit, we introduce some activities, we avoid most of this, but we don't understand the importance of the scaffolding, like the thought behind the scaffolding done, that if we allow them to talk about it in some units, it will develop some skills that's happening. That thought process, you will get the same activities.
So, the main part of it, as we are exploring the teacher resource and the learner resource together, we are seeing that many times we feel that, oh my gosh, like this unit is, and we are skipping a lot of parts of the unit as well, especially the talk activity, the speak activity, because we are not referring to the teacher resource. If we see the teacher resource, we'll know the idea that went behind putting that activity in the unit. So many times we are completing the unit, but we are overlooking the smaller activities that's given. Now, again, it brings us back to the same question. You don't need to do it for all the units, but you don't need to skip it for all the units as well. So I'm suggesting that you don't need to do the talk activity for all the units. You might not have the time. You most probably will not have the time, right? But as educators, I have been also sometimes, when we just introduce the unit, we tend to overlook the starter activity, we tend to overlook the talk activity, we don't understand the scaffolding that goes behind this. So then we see that the learners are not reaching the stage they were supposed to reach. So if you see the teacher resource, you can see the exact amount of time given for the talk activity that needs to be done, the idea how you would initiate the talk activity given. That is why we are trying to find the correlation between the teacher resource and the learner resource, because if we go through that, we'll understand maybe we can't skip this for all the units, and this is necessary. And if we go through that in a scaffolded way, the learners would reach the stage that they were supposed to reach. That is very important. That is why we are exploring this in such great detail, because many times we are not seeing the scaffolding that has gone behind each and every activity given in the learner book. It's not possible to understand it just looking at the learner book. Only if you correlate it with the teacher book, you will be able to understand why each activity is scaffolded in such a way. They have even given the time that you need to spend. Again, they are not tying the teacher that you have to spend only 15 minutes. If your learners are enjoying the conversation, please extend it and take the whole session. Doesn't matter, right? Because that will again fulfill another part. That will, if you're taking the whole session, you're not missing out on anything. If the learners are enjoying and they are taking the whole session for that, that means they are developing their critical thinking skills. So in the summary checklist, that will automatically happen. So even when you're thinking that, oh, I couldn't complete this on time, something or the other will get done, right? More or extra. So don't think so much also about time and flexibility, because in some ways something will get done in different ways. Okay. So as groups, if we can have if we can have any suggestions from the groups with the learner book and the teacher book, some things that you have found similar. Anyone who's ready? Those who don't have the learner book or the teacher resource, you can use the extracts. You have samples of both the teacher resource and the learner books there. So, ma'am, you're ready.
So we checked the learner book 4, read and respond, the seekers. So here in learner book, the activity mentioned it as 3 in page 86. The same as explained in teacher's resource with the question as well as the answer. In right hand side page, there is an audio clip with page number. It will match with the Cambridge Go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That's absolutely that's the scaffolding that we were talking about. Anyone else who's ready with the similarity? Yes.
So, Good afternoon. This is Purnima from Aditya Vidyashram Chennai campus. So we went through the book Grade 4 for learners book 4 interviewing a friend 1.3, the starting up idea, how we can go about it, how we have to interview a friend. It matches exactly with the teacher's resource.
Right, right. Thank you so much. Anyone else who's ready with the similarity?
We have the language detective. It's
Right.
just like the with the teacher resource. It's just grammar, and here
Yes.
also we have it as
Yes,
grammar.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for that. Anyone else? Any other group is ready?
Ma'am, I was in Learner Book 1. Here
Yes.
I was seeing like a Learn a Hello poem. The same is matching over here. They were like activities there. The both are getting matched.
Right, right.
And more activities we are seeing in the
Yes,
teacher's
yes,
resource. Thank you.
yes. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else who is ready?
Good afternoon, ma'am. I have just cross-checked this extract.
Yes.
In this 7.4, they have given the first activity is read and listen. So the content is a long history. So for that, they have given the cross-curriculum link also. In that, they have given the extra information about the content for the teachers to refer and to deliver to the students.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for the cross curricular link. We'll delve deeper into the cross curricular links in the teacher resource as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who's ready with the similarities? So we'll continue looking for the similarities. And as you feel free, this activity is no way done. We can just use this more because now we are getting an idea of how to relate the learner book and the teacher book together. So thank you for all the responses that have already come in. We'll just explore and keep on exploring this more. We are breaking for lunch. In the meantime, once we come back, we are going to explore the workbook a little bit as well. Anyone is ready with anything?
Ma'am, it relates like a language detective is the same as lesson book and this teacher's resources is very useful for us. Thank you.
Yes, language detective is also a box that we sometimes skip in the learner book as well. So it's great that it has come out in one of the things is the language detective can be useful just to keep in mind something to scaffold in the learning process as well.
The vocabulary part is equal in, coordinate with the teacher's resource, ma'am. The learner's book.
So in the teacher resource, if you see the vocabulary and the learner book will also the language.
In the teacher's resource, it is language background, and in the learner's book, it is vocabulary. And the other thing is this plenary ideas. It is basically the speaking skills.
Yes,
It
yes.
is the speaking skills. Speaking skills, it is given in the learner's book, and it is a plenary ideas at the.
Yes, in many of the units, it comes as the speaking skills, sometimes critical thinking skills as well, in many
It
different.
is lesson learner's book 8.
8. Yes, yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Anyone else with anything? Yes.
So along with the planning, they have given the duration to complete each module. At the same time, they have given the homework ideas. So it's easy for us to give homeworks to our students.
Yes, it's actually scaffolded. We were just discussing with the lesson plan. We'll have a quick session. I think all of you are doing lesson plans. It's taking a big part of your time, right? Most of the time. So we'll come to the part where the teacher resource is also helping you do the lesson plans as well. So that like ma'am pointed out, the homework ideas and the plenary, all those ideas can also be suggested. Any other responses that we can have before we close? Okay, so like I said, this activity is no way done. Like you can come up with ideas and you can just share the similarities between the learner book and the teacher book as we go along. We are breaking for lunch, and once we come back, we'll just explore the workbook quickly, and then we'll just keep a separate section for lesson planning and also the digital resources as well, the Cambridge Go support.